The purpose of my work, which lasted for 30 years, was to clarify a question that has long been of concern to mankind. It's about opening up a new life and a new world for each of us. I entered this field as a skeptic, not believing that human existence continues after death, but under the pressure of facts, I had to change my mind. Having developed my own methodology and following its algorithms, I have repeatedly obtained results that irrefutably confirm that the essence of a person persists after death, said a prominent Soviet scientist, Doctor of Technical Sciences, Professor Vsevolod Zaporozhets, at the end of his life. Zaporozhets was born in St. Petersburg in 1908 into a noble family. They have been studying with the child since early childhood, so it is not surprising that the boy was already reading fluently at the age of 5. The aunt, who owned a large library, not only provided books for her nephew, but also tried to discuss what she had read with him. Noticing his nephew's interest in everything mysterious, his aunt began to offer him esoteric literature. That's how Vsevolod learned about ghosts, the afterlife, and mediums. But then, in his early childhood, he did not even imagine what this hobby would lead to in many years. After graduating from the Leningrad Mining Institute, Zaporozhets traveled all over Russia with geological expeditions. After 20 years of working in geological exploration, he moved to a managerial job at the new Moscow Institute of Applied Geophysics, where he taught until his retirement. For most of his life, this scientist has been developing methods for searching for mineral deposits. He has written more than 70 scientific papers on geochemistry and nuclear geophysics. Like most Soviet scientists, Zaporozhets was a materialist, and he remained one until his beloved wife, ballerina Valentina Lopukina, died. They have lived together for more than 30 years. After her death, he couldn't find a place for himself. His wife was the meaning of his life, and suddenly she was gone. Continuing to exist without her seemed meaningless and worthless. But a doubt crept into my soul. Is she really gone for good? Maybe it's true after all that there is life in the next world? But as a staunch atheist, he wasn't ready to believe it right away. As a scientist, he needed irrefutable evidence. Then the Zaporozhets sat down to read books. He studied 1,500 volumes on a topic of interest to him. Immersing himself more and more into a new field, Zaporozhets realized that people who had seriously studied this issue had come to believe that there was an afterlife and that one could communicate with the dead. The most difficult task was to find suitable mediums. The professor himself did not possess such abilities. But gradually the clairvoyants were found. In total, more than 50 spiritualists participated in his experiments. Over 26 years of communication of Zaporozhets with the other world, more than 500 sessions have taken place. The result of the work was the fundamental book, Contours of the Universe, Mysteries of Death, with a brief history of spiritualism, an explanation of the basic spiritualistic terms and concepts, and, most importantly, a description of the methodology for proving the existence of the afterlife. Zaporozhets managed to find out a lot of interesting things. For example, the fact that the dead retain their consciousness. It is not necessary to eat in the next world to maintain life, but if you really want to, you can eat fruits which are abundant there. In the afterlife, lovers are reunited. If the spouses did not have tender feelings for each other during their lifetime, then they do not have to live together. Those who are not lucky enough to meet their soulmate during their earthly life get a chance to find love. There are no wars, no violence, no diseases, no old age, but everyone remains young and beautiful. Souls don't need sleep and don't have to work, but they can find something to do if they want. For example, his wife is still dancing there. Valentina, who passed away from earthly life after a serious illness at the age of 62, informed the scientist through a medium that here she rejoices in her youth, health, and beauty. Among the messages from her is this: I look as much as I feel. I'm very happy here. But when he expressed a desire to reunite as soon as possible, she objected. There is no need to hurry here. Everyone here is very sad about earthly life. Live as long as you have to. Otherwise, God will be angry that you are neglecting his gift. According to Vsevolod Zaporozhets, before entering the other world, a person is waiting for a kind of sorting. For example, a convinced atheist sinks into nothingness. A Buddhist goes through reincarnation. A Christian who expects punishment for his sins accepts it, and only after that joins the peaceful and joyful life of the afterlife. Zaporozhets claimed that all messages from the departed were received by clairvoyance using a circle with letters. The scientist took notes of all the messages from the other world personally. There is information in his notes that will be of interest to everyone. In particular, these are the stories of the departed about what happens to our essence after death. During the end of the earthly life, and with the beginning of a new afterlife, all the departed experience similar experiences and observe the same phenomena. We have received information about the main stages of a person's transition to a new life. Based on the information received, we have compiled this sequence. After studying the messages received by clairvoyance, the scientist concluded that the deceased often go through a period of unconsciousness. At this time, their consciousness may be clouded or the departed may be in complete oblivion, which can last from several days to several months. This period will be especially long for those who rejected the afterlife in their earthly life. War dead are often unconscious, as for some time many of them think they are continuing to live. At the same time, some of the deceased indicate that they do not have a period of unconsciousness. The next period, described by Vsevolod Zaporozhets, is called contemplation of the abandoned. In the course of many years of research, the scientist wrote down in his notes hundreds of reports that the departed often attend their funerals. They usually rejoice when saying goodbye to them goes well. However, some of the departed expressed to Vsevolod Zaporozhets their opinion that they did not need expensive funerals, and they were not much affected by human concerns about the improvement of graves and the installation of expensive monuments. Of great value to the departed is only the good memory of them. The deceased shows interest in the place of his burial only at the beginning. So, one of the participants in the experiments, with whom it was possible to establish contact, said which stone should be used to make a tombstone for him, and what to write on it. But the more time passes from the moment of death, the less the deceased show interest in their graves. At the same time, they recommend that their relatives do not visit cemeteries too often. It's enough to be here for the holidays, and it's better not to bring flowers here, but to leave them at home, by the portrait. The funeral is followed by a meeting with loved ones. One day, Vsevolod Zaporozhets addressed a departed friend with a request to meet on the other side of their mutual friend, who was about to die. In response, the scientist received the following message: "You don't have to remind me of that. I know this, and I come to a meeting with everyone I once knew." In another experiment, a relative of one of the participants in the experiment suddenly appeared and reported, "Greetings, I'm Anna. Don't worry, I've met Ivan. We were waiting for him. Ilya, Vladimir, and Nikolai met him with me. Ivan is still very tired. But don't worry, he'll be better off here. Tell Natasha not to be so sad. Don't worry, he'll be fine here. His goodness exceeds all his sins. He has a bright soul." Excerpt from Vsevolod Zaporozhets' book, Contours of the Universe. All loved ones are reunited after death. Separation is possible only if there is a difference in spiritual development between people. We have seen examples of this. I rarely see my parents. They're in another place for now. But I hope that we will be able to unite soon. But still, there are many more examples where the departed live in large families that unite several generations. Ilya lives with his parents. I live with my son, and in general we have a big family. I live with my mother. We have a family of 8 people. During his study of the other world, Vsevolod Mikhailovich managed not only to form a base of important knowledge, but also to help many grieving people. He passed on knowledge to them and connected them with their relatives of the deceased. Those, in turn, received evidence and were convinced that their loved ones had survived death and were in another world, waiting to be reunited. They received the comfort they needed and the opportunity to continue their lives peacefully, focusing on completing their tasks. Vsevolod Zaporozhets reports that the dead can follow their earthly life. This is confirmed by the messages that the scientist received during his experiments. For example, one of the summoned souls reported her granddaughter's illness and reproached her relatives for not being interested in her condition. During the sessions, Zaporozhets received many similar messages from his wife. So she praised him for bringing fresh flowers to her grave and was upset that her husband rarely prays and does not go to church. It has been established that many of those who live in the afterlife become the guardians of those people whom they loved most in their earthly life. The messages that the scientist managed to receive confirm that after the transition, a person retains his individuality. Having left earthly life in old age or after a long illness, the deceased may feel depressed and weak for some time. For example, we were informed about the condition of a recently deceased woman who died of cancer by her relatives, who died earlier and have already fully settled into a new life. At first, after her transition, they talked. It's very hard for her. She seems too exhausted. It will take a long time before she gains strength. She needs to be alone now. That's what she needs. We can't take her in. The messages received a month later were already different. I visit her sometimes. She feels better than before, but she's still a long way from feeling good. And 6 months later, she is perfectly healthy and happy. Those who have moved into a new life at a very old age say that they need time to take their breath away from earthly life. They are gradually approaching the age that they most enjoy. This is evident from a conversation with a woman who died at 93. 4 months after the transition, the Zaporozhets asked this woman if she was young now. No, she replied. It's strange. Many of the departed say that they have become young, the scientist continued in confusion. That's right, it all depends on the state of mind, the woman said. After that, Vsevolod asked the deceased what state of mind she had now. The lady replied that she felt 57 years old, but a year later she said, I'm 36 now. I love this age. It must be said that at the very first contacts with the departed, the scientist revealed that they were all constrained by the prohibition to transmit to the living a whole range of information about their new world. At the same time, those living on the other side refer to a certain law or evade a direct answer, saying, as long as human feelings still live in us, there are many prohibitions for us. If you find out everything, then it will be no wonder for everyone to live with dignity. Don't ask about our lives, we're not allowed to talk about them. Based on these reports, the researcher came to the conclusion that in the world of the departed, there is an organized society that obeys rules and prohibitions. The scientist received confirmation of this when he was told, we cannot talk to you without permission. We must ask, or you will be deprived of contact with us. It is not allowed to talk about it. It is forbidden to disclose it. Therefore, according to the scientist, he collected information about the structure of the other world and the living conditions in it bit by bit from random statements of the departed. Zaporozhets learned about the beautiful cities full of light where people live, about the lower spiritual realms, in which low-level and fallen personalities live in deplorable conditions, about the magnificent landscapes, about the animals that inhabit the other world, about the colors and music that are impossible by earthly standards, about the absence of time and the great feelings of happiness and peace from life on the other side. The quality of life of the inhabitants of the afterlife, first of all, depends on the level of spiritual development at which they are. There are 3 mental subplanes, upper, middle, and lower. The scientist found that the inhabitants of the middle and higher subplanes of the world call their place paradise and characterize their lives as an opportunity to fulfill all desires. They are satisfied with everything, calm and happy. Their world is filled with beauty and joy. The lucky ones describe the panorama of the other world that opens before them as a bright picture. Therefore, to those who have seen this sphere, the earthly world begins to seem like a descent into twilight and sadness. Zaporozhets managed to receive such messages. Earthly life is a dark hallway, a gray day for us. We have radiance, light, you have grayness, lowlands. We have wonderful houses and nature, wonderful forests and flowers. We have nice people here, fun, interesting activities. I feel very good, all the illnesses have passed. Everything earthly is duplicated here, but without deformities and dark sides. The inhabitants of the lower subplane of the afterlife spoke about their lives in a completely different way. Everything here is gloomy, gray, and dreary. Those who live here celebrate. It's cloudy like a day, but there's no sun. We're like shadows in a fog, longing. I live like in a bad dream. I feel bad here, I long for the earth. My life is bad, you can't eat, drink, or sleep. There are a lot of women, but what's the use? Life is miserable, people lie that it's better here. Drug addicts and alcoholics have a particularly bad time here. Unsatisfied addictions draw them to the earthly world, to seedy places where they can at least feel the atmosphere of habitual vice. Suicides also have a hard time. It takes them a long time to rebuild and find the meaning of a new existence. The messages from those who were deeply religious in their earthly life are also gloomy, and after death they called themselves a sinner and expected punishment. Information has been confirmed that death is actually an absolutely painless process of transition to the other side. That all those living beyond the death line retain their personality and their inherent traits, get rid of the effects of diseases and injuries sustained in earthly life, feel great, and return to their prime age of 20 to 30 years. Children who enter the spiritual world too early, on the contrary, grow up to this age, are brought up and trained in special educational institutions. Other spirits act as their teachers and mentors. There are many pleasant activities and exciting jobs in the next world. At the same time, no one is forcing anyone to do anything. The other side is a world of embodied desires, and everyone finds something for themselves according to their interests. The beauty of nature increases the further the departed rises above the darkness. By the way, we were trying to find out what exactly is the source of light in the other world. In response, we received conflicting information. Some of the departed claim that the same sun is shining in their world as ours. Others say that the light comes from a spiritual luminary. But there are also those who consider the inhabitants of another world themselves to be the source of light. Our interlocutors claimed that it is always warm in the other world. They say about the weather that it is always clear, but for those who want rain, there are places where it rains all the time. Vsevolod Zaporozhets managed to get such details about the structure of another world and conditions in it. The scientist managed to follow the path of many researchers from that side and come to the same conclusions that others have consistently come to for several hundred years. The afterlife exists, it is quite material for its inhabitants. People there live a full life, preserve their personality and memory of earthly life, engage in interesting activities, and wait arrival of their relatives and friends at their allotted hour. Zaporozhets approached the matter as a major scientist, which he was. He created a system, a whole new methodology, to confirm the phenomena he witnessed every week at séances. Using this complex and unique methodology, he confidently confirmed the identities of the spirits appearing at the sessions and proved the fact of the continuation of the life of the spirit after the death of the biological body. Zaporozhets continued his research until 2007. He was almost 100 years old when his turn came to make the transition to another world. After this happened, his colleague and student, candidate of physico-mathematical sciences, Artem Mihiv, contacted Professor Zaporozhets with the help of a medium in order to find out if he had managed to reunite with his wife. The professor got in touch and, in his usual scientific manner, first of all confirmed that life on the other side was really going on, and then told him that he had reunited with his Valentina and they were happy. Do you believe in life after death? Write in the comments. Recently, some interesting videos were released on my channel. I strongly advise you to watch them. Please don't forget to like this video if you liked it. See you soon.